Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Reds Rundown Podcast, hosted by two lifelong Reds fans and journalists. I'm Rob, he's Joe, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us. Joe, as always, we start off with a howdy doody, and how was your weekend?
It was good. It was nice to have the Reds bounce back a little bit after a rough start to the week. And, talk about college football video game came out. That was a lot of fun last week. We're going to have some more fun with that, on the Game House channel, on the Game House website, everything coming up. And I'm excited for this Home Run Derby tonight and this All-Star game coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, it should be a good time. We'll see if the NL can finally do anything, as it seems that they always lose, but that's all right. Today, we're going to be going over games from the week. Marlins, Rockies. We'll be talking about them. Injuries, quick injury updates as we head into the small break that we'll get here. We'll talk about Andrew Abbott and Elly De La Cruz, our lone all-stars. Congrats to Andrew Abbott ahead of time. We'll go through that a little bit more. We'll talk about the draft, Joe. The MLB draft just started yesterday. The Reds made, I think, a slightly surprising, but I think good pick. We'll talk about the first half, our MVP, our Cy Young, second half predictions, along with the trade deadline coming up, and then we will go into the Mets. A bit of a packed show, but I think a good one to say the least. You'll need to let us know in the comments section below, by the way. The answer to the question of the day is, who was your first half MVP? Let us know who you think. Joe and I will discuss that shortly. Also, make sure you guys like and subscribe. We're getting more and more people who are checking us out on a regular basis, Joe. So we want you guys to become a part of the Reds Rundown family. We're here every single week, guys. So check us out. Games this past week, Joe. The Reds had an interesting week, to say the least. It was, I'm going to call it, way more stressful than it needed to be. The Reds started off with a 5-1 loss on Monday against the Marlins. Mr. Junk here, don't let that name fool you. He got his ERA down to a 3.12. He gave up one hit, no earned runs, 3 Ks, 6 innings pitched. Brady Singer really wasn't that bad either. 5 innings, 7 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 Ks. He would ultimately go on to lose the game, but the Reds could only scratch out 3 hits. Elly with a hit, Steer with a hit, Noelvi Marte. Everybody else just was making soft contact. They were not getting around on the ball. Lyon Richardson and Brent Suter could not keep the game within reach. They would give up runs in the 6th and the 7th. The Reds would ultimately drop game 1. You and I both were kind of like, hey, if they lose one game to the Marlins, that's expected, no worries. The worry came in on the next game. The Reds would go up early, 1-0. Matt McLain with a home run in the first inning. Felt good. We got through the first 2. Nick Martinez was doing his thing. And then he would go on to give 7 in the 3rd. He would give up 10 overall, could not get his way out of the 6th. It was shocking that the Reds were able to even get him into the 6th, if we're being honest with ourselves. But 7 hits, 10 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 Ks. He was pretty awful. And Yuri Perez was fine. The Reds would not be able to do much more. They'd score 1 more in the 9th to bookend it, Joe. And we were sitting here wondering, I know I was tweeting, this was supposed to be a good week. Now, the Marlins have been playing great baseball lately, so I will give them that credit. But really thought the Reds would take care of business. Then the stopper would come in, Joe. Andrew Abbott. The Reds would go up 3-0 early on in the game. Couple big hits. Elly with a big one. Hayes would get a run in. And the Reds would go on to win this one 7-2. Abbott would give up 1 run, but he'd go 7 2/3. 6 hits, 2 walks, 5 Ks to round out his first half. Pagan would end up giving up a home run in the 9th inning, but that would really be about it. Sandy Alcantara was wild as ever. I do not know if he's going to get traded now. Maybe that was his intent all along, but we will have to see, as the Reds would go and put their record back over 500. And they were going to the Thursday game. A lot of people were saying on Wednesday, Joe, I don't know if you saw this or not. I even saw it on the radio. They were like, oh, the Reds are trying to avoid the sweep. And I was like, hey, there's 4 games, guys, so don't know why everybody's freaking out about that, but the Reds would go on to win the final game here. Nick Lodolo was excellent. 6 innings, 3 hits, 4 strikeouts. the bullpen would shut them down as well. Spencer Steer with a home run. Ellie would continue to stay hot. Austin Hayes with 2 big hits, 3 RBIs as well. The Reds would get back over that hump in a pretty big way in this one, Joe. And it was just kind of, like I said, a weird series. I think if Martinez doesn't give up the 7 spot in, that second game, Joe, I think maybe they come back. I just think Junk was throwing well. I'm not going to take anything away from him. Yuri Perez was as well, but I think once the Reds got down 7-1, I think they really struggled to kind of find their way back in that game mentally. Where were you at with this one? At least they got 2 wins. Really, a third one would have gone a long way.
Yeah, this was a series that was frustrating, not just that they lost the first 2 games, but also that they had the lead really early. Obviously, it ended up being a blowout in both 5-1 and 12-2. But you get that lead, you're thinking, okay, maybe we can get some offense going. And after the end of the series last week, where we don't score many runs, it kind of just continues. We score 2 runs, we score 1 run against the Marlins. That's not great. They have better pitching than maybe they get credit for, but that's still not great. They're not a great team. You got to do better than that. And I think that's just kind of like I guess one of those things where we've always wanted the consistency, and it just isn't coming. So maybe adding another bat at the deadline will just help give us that consistency, especially against bad teams. That's something I think we need to maybe talk about a little bit more. But no, this is super frustrating for that reason. I think this might lead Nick Martinez to move to the bullpen. I know we talked about it for the last couple of weeks now with Chase Burns coming up. But he had that one good start against the Padres, his former team, the revenge game. But since then, he gave up 9 hits and 4 runs to the Red Sox in 6.2 innings. He gave up the 10 runs to the Marlins, and then we're going to talk about the Rockies series here in a bit. 2 runs in 5.1 innings. It's not the worst thing, but it is the Rockies. And it's like, okay, dude, I like what you've done. You've definitely helped this team out. But that's my biggest takeaway from the series is we've had I would say that was a big, just that he might have to change his role to help this team. And then on top of that, I think Marte got a little bit hot at the end of the series, but he also had some yips at third base, and it might be fruitful to make him the DH for a bit until he figures this out, because it was still affecting him in the Rocky series too. But specifically, this is kind of when it started, and it's kind of like it's a mental thing. He has all the talent in the world. He can play third base and be a very good defensive third baseman physically, but it is a mental thing. And it seemed like he kind of got a little bit back on track in the Rocky series, but it was still there. Still some throws that were kind of wide. And he obviously plays well enough right now that he should be in the lineup every day. But how are you going to get him in the lineup? Should he play, should he be a DH? Should he be third base? I know a lot of fans are complaining about Espinal coming in as a late defensive substitute for him, and I just when he's throwing the ball that poorly, you have to get him,
especially in a close game.
You have to get him out. And Espinal, after he was a defensive substitute, hit a double against the Rockies too, and we'll talk about that more a little bit later. But that to me was kind of the big takeaways there. Nick Martinez, I think, let the team down with that start, and just really hasn't had it since that Padres game. And that his role will be nebulous. And then Marte, we have to figure out, maybe, give him the chance to start at third base after the All-Star break if you want. But if he starts having more of these throwing errors, or even ones that don't turn into errors, because Spencer Steer is doing a very good job at digging and jumping and
unreal.
Tagging. He's doing great at first base. Give him a chance to start at third base, and if it doesn't work out, put Espinal at third base, bat him low in the lineup. I know everyone wants me to say that, so bat him low in the lineup, put Marte at DH. You have to find a way to get his bat in the lineup at the same time, not cost yourself games with his what seems like the yips at this point.
Yeah, it's when he has less time to think about it, he makes the play, right? And that's something that you see with somebody with the yips. I can tell you from personal experience. You just don't have that time to think, oh no, am I going to accidentally miss a little bit to the left or to the right? You just got to trust your mechanics, and it's something that young players do struggle with. Even some of the best, all-time greats have talked about, getting the yips for a little bit and, having to just mentally work through that. So hopefully they'll be able to do that. In terms of Nicky Smiles, dude, yeah, I think I've seen some rumors that apparently the Reds are potentially even shopping him to other teams who may want what he has to offer, and I think the Reds should consider that. I don't know what you're going to get for him and whether or not that's going to make your team better for now, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. This Rocky series, or this Marlins series, was frustrating, but again, they have been playing Very, very good baseball lately, Joe. To the tune of, let me check real quickly because they played well again. They went 5-5, but I think they've won like, I forget what it was. It was like most of their last couple series. And so I'm not going to take away much from our Redlegs, but it has been a struggle, to say the least. It was even more so when we got to the Friday game. This team rarely loses on Friday in their City Connect Blacks. Chase Burns was on the mound and actually had arguably his best start of his career so far, his very young career. He went 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 10 strikeouts. Most of it coming on the 2-run home run, not most of it, pretty much all of it coming on the 2-run home run by Ryan McMahon. The Reds would battle back, Joe. They would tie this game up. Noelvi Marte would get things started with a home run, his first one of this series. I believe he would hit 3 in this one. But the big story of the day that everybody was talking about was Austin Hayes. He had arguably his worst day as a Cincinnati Red so far. 4 strikeouts, a ton of opportunities with people on base, especially because the Rockies decided they just didn't want to deal with Elly De La Cruz. He got a hit. He had a triple to start things off, and they were like, nope, we're not dealing with this guy. And they walked him 4 times, 3 times intentionally, I believe, Joe, which was fine. I mean, it's rare to see an Elly stat line of 1 hit, 4 walks. Just was kind of weird. But, yeah, Hayes just really was not getting it done. Neither was Lux behind him. They combined for 6 strikeouts and 9 at-bats. Not what you're looking for with your 4 and 5 hitters there. Steer would also go 0 for 3. But this Reds team would keep it close, but they would ultimately lose 3-2. Tony Santillan would end up giving up the deciding run, which was a huge bummer, to say the least, because I knew at that point we were not going to be going 5-2. I had hoped, hey, they won these last 2. If they can just sweep this Colorado series, great. Luckily, they would figure it out a little bit on Saturday. The day game, I think, threw them off a little bit. McLean stayed hot. De La Cruz stayed hot. Hayes got back on track, got an RBI. Brady Singer went 6 1/3, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 9 Ks. His only, bad stuff came with 1 man on and gave up a home run to the 9-hitter, which was a bit of a bummer. But the big story for this one, Joe, was the comeback. They would get men on base. They battled yet again. Benson, I want to call him out a little bit on this one, thought he had hit a walk-off home run. He possibly could have had an inside the park home run, to be honest, had he been running from the start. Luckily, there was nobody out, so he got the run to score. He got his triple. And, yeah, probably should have been a home run, but Noelvi Marte would get the walk-off after hitting a home run in the 7th inning as well to keep things close. Graham Ashcraft would come in. Inning and 2/3 was awesome. Pagan as well, 2 big strikeouts to get the win and keep that game close. And it was at that point that I was sweating out Sunday, Joe, because Nicky Smiles was back on, and we had a lefty in Austin Gomber going up against us, who has generally been the only good pitcher for this Rockies team since he got traded over there from St. Louis. And the Reds would get it done again. Friedel would start off with a home run. Gomber would kind of settle down, but Nicky Smiles was 5 2/3, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 3 Ks. He did give up 5 hits, but he did lower that ERA in a pretty significant way. The Reds would go on to win this one. They'd score 4 runs in 4 different innings, and that was really all that they needed. And they would finish the week. We said a minimum of 4-3 was the expectation, Joe. They did that. Really wish they could have gotten 1 more. I think that would have been a lot bigger than people realize, because I always look at a loss, Joe, as basically 2 losses, right? Because you're losing 1 more game that you cannot play, and you're losing. So it's tough. I know it sounds stupid, but that's just the way that I always look at it. And it's a bummer, because 51-46 sounds really, really good. That's the difference between 5 games over and 3 games over. So, big bummer.
Yeah, and you'd be 1.5 spots out of the wild card spot at this point, which would be nice. And you kind of think about things, too, like the way the National League wild card is setting up, you're going to have to be better than 3 games above 500 in the second half,
Oh yeah.
probably to make the playoffs. You probably have to be 5 or 6 games over to be safe in the playoffs, maybe even more. And just with our inconsistencies, I'm not sure that's something that's going to happen. I mean, I think it's definitely possible, but you kind of like, I'll talk more about the series in a second, but since you brought it up, I think look at some of our schedule in the second half. It isn't the easy. We had the easy parts of the schedule. We've already played the Rockies twice. We played the Marlins twice. There are easy series coming up, but
Yeah.
it's like we play the Mets, very, very good. We play the Nationals. We play the Rays. We were solid. Then we played the Dodgers. Then we come back down and play the Braves, who are a bad team, but a dangerous bad team because they have all the
Mm-hmm.
offense. And then the Cubs, and then the Pirates, and then it's up and down all the time. It's much tougher than it was the first half, and just to trust this team to kind of play better than they have in the first half is not something that I think we should be doing without any more additions. I know we'll talk more about who they might trade for, and a lot of the trade rumors are pretty interesting to me, to be
They've
honest.
been
That could
wild.
really help this team. And if that offense does get more consistent, then yes, there is a path where they can play 3 to 5 games above 500 and push for a playoff spot. But we'll have to see how they do with that tough schedule. This series specifically, love the fight from the Reds. I still don't think they played as well as they could have against a team as bad as the Rockies, but we saw that they were able to have 2 comeback wins on Saturday and Sunday. Uh, Want to point out too that we had some runs scored. I think the game winning run scored on an error on Saturday, and then the go ahead run on Sunday was scored on an error too. So just put the ball in play and see what happens. I think that's the thing I appreciate most about what was happening was, yeah, Benson, I do wish he would have run harder, but Marte was able to just put the ball in play to the right side. We have
Yep.
enough speed on this team we could score.
Yep.
That was refreshing to see. And yeah, I think it's one of those things where um, for a team that I think probably had the potential to maybe be 5 to 6 games above 500 after the first half with some games that got away and mismanagement and just, some player errors. It does suck that they did the bare minimum in this series of like stay in it from our perspective of like doing 4-3. That's just what they've been. They've been this inconsistent team where they'll show up against good teams. They play with their food when they're bad teams. They should have played better
Mm-hmm.
against the Rockies. There should be a game in here where they won 10-2 or something like that. They should have maybe
Yep.
swept them. That's what's frustrating about this team. Albeit it is fixable if this team does go out and get another bat. It makes it more consistent. If you get a bat to put in the 2 hole and move everyone down, I think there's plenty of talk about how we can change things up with the players we have now, including moving Matt McClain down. He has been a little bit better, but every time we say he's a little bit better, it's still like 210 batting average. Why don't we put someone like Noelvi Marte at number 2 and really kind of juice up this lineup? Or one of these trade candidates, if we trade for someone like Stephen Kwan, like it has been rumored, have Friedel and him in front of Ellie, that'd be amazing. So that's kind of what I think. I think we need to use this All-Star break to kind of go into like, it's not like a second half preview yet, but use this to reset not just like mentally and physically, but also how we're going to structure things. Who's going to bat number 2 for us? Who's going to come out of this All-Star break starting in our starting rotation? I know we'll talk about that a little bit later. Who is Nick Martinez going to move to the bullpen? Should we do that now? If is Hunter Green going to be able to come back? There's a lot to talk about here of things we can improve what we have right now, and then also if we're able to go get an asset. Because you're right, Rob. This was not necessarily the finish to the start of the season or the first half of the season that we wanted to see, but there's still lots of potential for us in the second half if we do some of those things right.
Yeah, and we'll dive into that a lot more deeply here very soon. I do want to say a quick shout out as well to Tito. Getting his 2000th career win on Sunday was really a nice way to cap off the start of the season. I will say, if you had told me the Reds were going to have 50 wins before the All-Star game, Joe, I would have been pretty excited about it, considering what we have seen in the past. And the struggles, the fact that this team was 3 games under 500 to start in June, I'm proud of this team. They have found an identity, I think, and they are working on it. And you're seeing young players get better consistently. We'll go, like I said, into this a little bit more in depth. But to your point, I think it's important. Let's get into the injury update. Hunter Green had a setback. I thought he was going to start potentially this week. I think it's mental at this point, Joe. We can dive into that a little bit, but yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. Carson Spires is throwing, so our number 6 starter that we've needed pretty much all season is finally coming back. I know he'll probably sit down in AAA for most of the season, but he is a reliable guy in terms of being able to come up and you know what you're going to get out of him, and he's going to have games I think are really good and some that are bad, but I think he's about as good as a starter, at least recently, as Nick Martinez has been. Wade Miley is, it sounds like they're just keeping him around to be kind of a team glue guy. His literal injury designation says if he is able to come back. So I think that they've just kind of talked with him about this, and I think they're just keeping him around. Like, he's been with the team ever since he's come back, Joe, and apparently he's just spending time with the young pitchers. I think he's getting ready for his coaching career, maybe even with the Reds. That would be very interesting, but it sounds like they are keeping him around to have the veteran, mindset. Apparently he's just a really great clubhouse guy, so which we already knew, but he was the last one to be realistically an older guy on a part of a Reds playoff team. So maybe that's kind of part of it. Tyler Callahan is officially out for the year, Joe. He had to get wrist surgery, unfortunately. They said it was a complication from his previous surgery. They had a feeling it might happen. That injury was pretty ugly. It's a huge disappointment for a young guy who's coming up. Those can be career-ending. I'm not going to say for sure, but hopefully not for a guy who actually looked like he might have a little bit in the tank to be a solid bench piece. So hopefully he will, get some good stuff going on there. Prayers and good vibes to Mr. Callahan. Lastly, we'll go out to Jabot here. Ian Jabot start throwing again, Joe, but I don't know where his spot is going to be in this bullpen at this point, so we'll have to see. I want to kind of take it back to Hunter Green and to Wade Miley a little bit. We'll move on to the All-Star game. What are your thoughts on this Hunter Green stuff? Because he said he felt something. They've gone in and checked yet again with another MRI, and they said that everything is fine, technically. It's not that he probably didn't. He probably did. But I'm a little worried now that he's had this injury twice, and I feel like it's going to be a mental thing for him, and that is not good for a pitcher.
Yeah, I'm definitely worried about her history with our medical staff saying there's nothing there, and then, there's something there. So that is something to consider with this. I do think it probably is something mental. It's like something doesn't feel right with his body, and he's trying to get it right because he is an elite athlete, and they're not used to having things go wrong. So when things do go wrong, you want to feel comfortable and confident when you come back. He had that throwing on July 2nd. I'm hoping that these next couple of days where everyone's off, he can kind of feel better and come back and help this team. It's definitely unfortunate, but yeah, it's one of those two things. It's either a mental issue because there's nothing there, or it's our training staff has messed up again in terms of what they have told the fans. So that's the bad news. Is there's no positive thing. I mean, I guess the best is it's mental and he gets over it here soon. But you never want a pitcher to be worrying about their groin and how it's going to, if it's strained or if it's still hurt while they're pitching either. So I'm hoping he gets better here. Hopefully this time off can help him and back and make us stronger, because it hasn't been easy being without him for the last month and a half.
Yeah, I mean, we probably get 2 more wins with him just being in the rotation. I know that means we probably wouldn't have brought up Chase Burns, but I'm okay with that. I'd rather them have had to bring him up because Nick Martinez wasn't getting it done, more so than Hunter Green being hurt. So we will have to see. I can tell you that, just like the yips, dude, this kind of a thing for a pitcher, it can be detrimental. So he may suck in that first start back. He may have some lower velocity. He may not have snap because he's trying not to hurt himself. That's just going to be something he has to get over. I'd rather him take the time that he needs to be available for us down the stretch, because that is not ideal, to say the least. What about Wade Miley for you, Joe? Just a quick thought on him.
Good to have around the clubhouse. He's obviously has a lot going on just with his injuries and with everything else, with the Tower Skaggs stuff too. But I think he's good to have in there as a guy to talk to for those guys. He's obviously still part of the team. I think there might be a path that he can maybe have a role down the line, but it's just have him in the clubhouse for now and see what happens later. It doesn't seem like maybe he doesn't have too much left and maybe too much will, but he does seem like he enjoys being in the locker room, and the guys enjoy having him there too. So yeah, sad if this is the end for him, but at the same time, I understand it. Yeah,
I mean, even for the Tito 2000th win, where the players got him something, Wade was the one who went out and got it. That's the kind of thing that you need, I think, in a big way. We'll move on. All-Star game, Joe, Tuesday. Andrew Abbott and Ellie. Abbott won't start. Paul Skeens will start again. No surprises there. I think Abbott might get like 1 inning of work, maybe. Let's just hope that he's healthy. I'd prefer he doesn't play, to be honest. Same with Ellie. I know Ellie will play 100%. They will probably get some slow guy on base, and they will put Ellie in. He'll get 1 at bat, and then they'll call it a game after that, hopefully. But what are your expectations for them? What are your hopes? And tell us why you also would prefer they not play.
Oh no, I prefer they play. I'm glad Ellie's not doing the home run derby. I think that could mess with his swing specifically. I think a lot of people can do the home run derby and not have any effect on their swing. But his inconsistencies with his swing early in his career, whether he's had to change it or everything else, I'm glad he's not doing that. All-Star game. I guess I would say Abbott, I want to, pitch an inning, that's fine. I guess he's not the one I'm really talking about. Ellie, I do want to play because I want him to keep on building that confidence that he is the best in the sport, and he matches up just with those guys who are starting. I want him to play and have a very good game and build that confidence up. I expect Abbott to pitch that inning. I expect Ellie to come in, maybe start as a pinch runner, maybe come in and stay in the game after that. I think it's, I will say we talked about it last week how Abbott got snubbed. I want to thank everyone for doing the right thing, getting Abbott in the game because he deserved it. I will say there were some pitchers who got left out that shouldn't have, and then they added Jacob Mizorowski from the Brewers.
Yep.
Only 5 games pitched. That is
the Paul Skeens effect, man.
Paul Skeens, at least, he was up in May and he pitched like 11 or 12
Oh, I know,
games,
but that's
year.
why. It's just...
They're going for the clicks and everything, and that's such a slap into the face and all the other guys who have pitched well this season. If I would have had a huge rant today if they had put Mizorowski in over Abbott, but they did the right thing. The Abbott got in, and he had that cool moment in the dugout too, where everyone goes nuts, and you're thinking, oh, they just did a home run. Like, why are they going nuts after the home run? They already went nuts for the home run, and it's the whole team celebrating with them, and Terry Francona having that nice moment where he says Andrew Abbott's an all-star, and I think that's good for team chemistry. Obviously, it didn't come right away with that Marlins series, but I think it's good that he got in the All-Star game. I'm glad that he finally gets his respect after we talked about even Reds fans not having the respect for him at the start of the year. I'm excited for this. Excited to see them play. Yeah, again, if they're going to hold someone out, maybe Abbott, but he's so far away from starts, I think it's... And he doesn't throw hard. He's not going to throw his arm out. He can only throw 88 miles an hour.
Hey, I will say they won 4-5 after the announcement, so we'll give them that. But... I just don't... I think it's the Tyler Eifert effect for me, man. I mean, his career basically ended that day, He was just never the same. So I just always get afraid in these kinds of games. But, I mean, especially with Ellie, he seems fine, but I'm knocking on wood for that one. Excited for both of them, though. And I hope that Ellie hits an absolute nuke in the game itself and makes, like, a crazy, outrageous play at shortstop. I think he's technically the third one to come in, Joe, if I'm right, at shortstop, but we'll have to see. Moving on to the draft. It was an interesting day for the draft. A lot of unexpected picks, Joe. I was watching it yesterday. A lot of people were like, hey, why is this guy going here? I think the 1 overall pick not being a Holiday was surprising. Then the number 2 pick was apparently like the biggest surprise of the draft so far in Bremner going to the Angels. A small part of me hoped, just because, Matt Holiday, had done so much damage to us as Reds fans, both as a Rocky and as a Cardinal. I was really hoping we would get a chance to draft his son. I just thought that would be just poetically awesome. He did go even more poetically to the Rockies. But the Reds would get a young, interesting kid named Steele Hall, who is considered to be the best athlete in the entire draft, which I love. And a lot of people compare him to Mookie Betts, Trey Turner, and I forget who else, who was the third one. But the kid is out of high school, so I know a lot of people probably won't be happy about that. But he is a guy who apparently is one of the fastest runners out there right now. He's a solid defender, and a lot of them are seeing he apparently grew, got stronger, and they're seeing his bat kind of flourish as a young man here. He's only 17. He's one of the youngest players in the draft as well. And the Reds were able to get him here at the 9 spot, which a lot of people were surprised by.
Yeah, I don't absolutely love this pick. I won't say I hate it either. This was a very weird draft. It seemed like obviously the college prospects weren't as good as years past. We definitely figured Cade Anderson would go number one.
Yeah, it did
Liam
not.
Doyle from Tennessee. The other pitcher did not. And the Nationals really shook things up by taking Eli Willits, another 17-year-old shortstop who's out of high school. And that kind of set the tone. I don't think the value for this pick is necessarily the greatest. I think most people had him projected mid first round. We took him obviously with the ninth overall pick. I do like his tools. I'm interested that they took a high school bat in the first round. They do seem to like taking the high school bats and the college pitchers. I'm worried about the overall strategy of this pick because the Nationals picked Willits because they wanted to avoid negotiating with certain agents that we also don't like negotiating with, and that's like a long, long play. I don't know if that's the right call. If you should avoid guys just because their agents are possible money vacuums, we'll call them. But also, this is a guy that I don't know if I want him to ever play on the Reds, and it sucks because I don't know if you've seen this, Rob, but people are mad that we have Gavin Lux on the team now because the guy we gave up, I forget his name, is just escaping me right now. But like, oh, he's hitting well in the minor leagues. I kind of want to win in this window we have with Ellie and Hunter Green. So if we take a 17-year-old high school kid because he reclassified to this class, he's not even like a regular senior. He's 17 years old. I don't mind it from the sense that like we can take the time to develop him, but when you take into account that like when he's going to be ready to play Major League Baseball, it'd probably be 4 years out from now at the minimum, 21 years old. We're getting to the start of like some of the guys may not be on the team. This is a very big future thing. So because it isn't the greatest draft class, maybe they didn't like the college hitters, which again we're a little bit down. But I think there were some guys at that slot that could have gotten with some value. That's the surprising thing. I think he can end up being a very good player. I just don't know. I think they took for value in their minds because they think he can grow and be good because he did so much better his last year of college or high school than he did the year before, and he reclassified and he's so young. But I'm not sure if this means, hey, we're going to trade him or what's going to happen because he just won't be ready by the time this core uh, is ready to compete before they go off and sign with someone else. Unless we're going to say we're going to start spending money and sign these guys like Elliott, and obviously we have Hunter Green locked up. But if we start signing these guys, maybe that's a different question. He comes in as reinforcements, an underpaid reinforcement as a young guy, and really helps this team later on. That's fine, but I just don't see the money changing. So I'm okay with the pick. Like B minus pick. But the overall strategy does kind of leave me wondering what the plan is here.
I think I know what the plan is, and I don't think people are going to like it,
Ooh.
Joe.
Ellie gone, he's in.
That's what I put out there. People already did not like it, but I think that is exactly what this is. I think he is another toolsy guy who can play shortstop. If the Reds are unable to keep Ellie, which the only consolation I will give to people is we all thought they were not going to keep Votto. I remember forever, Votto's going to Toronto, Votto's going to Chicago, Votto's going to go to New York. And the Reds signed him to a 10-year deal, right? Like, I think the Reds will surprise you. I think they might try to keep Ellie. I really do. I just don't think it'll be like a mega 10-year deal again, because he'll still be young enough to where I think he'll be like only 27, 28 by the time he would be able to hit free agency. I could see the Reds trying to get 2 more years out of him, keep him till he's 30. I think it'll depend on who the manager is, how the team is doing, all that kind of stuff. But I do think that I think the long play is, Joe, that they think that this kid can develop and can be another Ellie type guy. I think that's what they see in him. I don't think he's got the superstardom that Ellie has, just because Ellie is quite literally the player that you make on MLB The Show. Switch hitter, can run, can swing, has a great arm, literally like a 5-tool absolute stud. I think this kid probably has maybe 4.5 tools. And I think he can be really good. I love the Trey Turner comparison. I would love to have a Trey Turner on this team, without a doubt. I think that would be freaking awesome. A guy who can hit for power. I mean, if this kid is a kid who can hit 280 for the Reds here in about 4 years, Joe, at 21 years old, the Reds at that point, if they don't lock up Ellie, maybe they lock this kid up for 10 years, right? Something like that. And he can be a guy who, again, can hit for 280, 22 home runs, steal, almost as many bases as Ellie's probably stealing at that point, and play shortstop. He's a really good player on your team, and you're fine with that. That's what I see. So I give it a B+ because I think they're planning for either your situation where they do sign Ellie and they can trade him, or If they're unable to sign Ellie, then this kid could be that. So I'm okay with it personally.
Yeah, like I said, it's not it's the value is maybe a little bit off. They took him a little bit earlier than they should have, but I don't hate the pick. I just don't know what the strategy is with this team. And you're right, it probably is the worst case scenario. Ellie
It
walks, he's
is.
the next guy.
Yeah.
We stay in mediocrity forever. It doesn't mean it's a bad pick. It means the strategy from the front office is bad. And I was kind of surprised. I thought they would have gone for more college prospects, even in a down college year, because you just never know how the high school kids are going to work out. And honestly, even in the second round, we took a guy from high school. Third round, we took someone from Ole Miss.
Apparently, people
And
like him though.
yeah, and they do, and that's fine. But I think it's like one of those things that it. This team clearly has a deficiency in, I would say, minor league talent right now because all of our, we brought up Rhett Lauder pretty quickly, we brought up Chase Burns really quickly. All of our hitters came up in 2023.
Sal Stewart did go to AAA.
Yes, that was good. That's one of the fun facts. I'm glad you brought that up. And yeah. So like it's okay. I'm interested to see, what happens here. How do we go about it? It's definitely fascinating. I think he can be a solid player for us. I like the Trey Turner comparison, especially. He doesn't have the power Ellie has, or even the potential power. He did have better powers last season because he added some muscle, but I I don't know. I think Trey Turner's the good comparison. If he turns into Turner, good pick, obviously. But we'll see what happens. I would love to keep Ellie and keep this kid. I would love to have him maybe come up to the majors a couple years from now instead of 4 or 5 years from now, and maybe make an impact. I just don't know if any of that's plausible. And again, I'm more afraid. Not that the pick isn't good. I'm more afraid that the Reds just keep on doing what they're doing, which is not compete. And Ellie, you're gone. Oh, we got another kid coming up, and then they don't like when Steele comes up, like they don't help him out and get anyone to support him, and then we're just stuck where we are. So that's the big thing. It's nothing about the pick. He'll probably end up being a fine player.
Best case scenario, he replaces TJ Friedel in center field. I'll put that there. That would be great. And by that time, Friedel will be old enough to where we won't feel bad about that.
Yeah.
All right, let's quickly talk about the first half because I really want to get into second half predictions. Joe, that's really where I want to get to. The first half was a roller coaster. I think had the bats been doing what they've been doing for the last month and a half, I think this team is potentially right there with the Cubs. The Cubs are like 20 games over right now. Is that right? Something like that. I'm looking right now. Yeah, they're 18 games. No, I'm doing math wrong. Joe, brain's farting here. Yeah, it's 18 games. Okay, 18 games above 500 right now. And again, it's because losses basically count as 2, right? The Cubs can go on a streak like the Dodgers did. The Dodgers just lost 7 in a row. And I think, the Reds have yet to have that like really truly 7 to 10 game like absolute run that I think they are capable of. We have seen it in years past. I think if Hunter Green comes back and the pitching kind of gets back on track, that's been, I think, something that's going to get worked on even more during this break. I would hope that Derek Johnson is at home and watching tape and kind of re-evaluating how they're going to do some of these things because I think some of these guys have been struggling in a pretty big way. But yeah, I mean, I think this team could be there, Joe. I mean, if they had just hit in that first month and a half, I really think this team could be there. They are starting to hit, which is great, and I think that's going to continue. But this first half would look very different with either one more bat, with a healthy Austin Hayes, or with just slightly better batting in general. I hate to put it all on the hitters, but it kind of was. I mean, this team could be one of the best teams in baseball if they had just hit a little bit, just a lick in the first month and a half.
Yeah, definitely could be. I would say very solid first half. I would say we definitely left some on the table, and I think too, like we're a small market team, so injuries affect us more than they will some of the bigger teams. So having guys like Hunter Green out for a month and a half, that doesn't help. Having Austin Hayes not be able to play like half the games. He played less than half the games. He played I think 47. We played 97 games so far. That's been killer too. We just don't have the depth to deal with that. I mean, all the fans get mad that like Connor Joe started against the lefty yesterday. Who else you want to throw out there? I mean,
Yeah,
I
for real.
don't like Connor. I don't like Connor Joe as a starting guy either. He's going to get spot starts. No one else hits lefties that well. It's just one of those things. We just don't have the depth. I don't like having to put those guys in those situations. I think having one or two utility guys is fine, but we have, Espinal, we have Connor Joe, we have, Will Benson, who's streaky as hell. It's becoming one of those things where it's just, and Jake Fraley as well, especially with the injury, we just don't know how that's going to really shake out. But it's the depth isn't there, so I'm excited to see. Not if we do get a bat, doesn't not only does it help the fact that we have more punch in our lineup for the second half, but also that depth will be better too. So when we put in Espinal, it might be one or two starts a week instead of three or four, or it might be hey Espinal's in, but he's batting ninth, or one of those situations where our best players get to play more because of that, and we get to stack the lineup better. So that's what I'm looking forward to. At the end of the first half, I'd say we did well with some of those things, but if we just add that little bit more, the second half could be a little bit better.
Yeah, and I want to kind of just give a quick, showing of how different things are this year compared to last year, Joe. So this year, right now, right, the Reds are 7.5 games out, 2.5 games of the wild card. They are 3 games above 500. The Cubs are 57 and 39. Last year, at this exact same date, July 14th, the Brewers were leading at only 13 games above 500. They were 55 and 42. The wild card spot, the last one, was the New York Mets at 49 and 46. The Reds were 8 games out of first place and 3 games out of the wild card, and they were 47 and 50. So a 6-game swing for the Reds would have put them at this time last year in that third wild card spot. Actually, they'd be in the second wild card spot, I believe, or right around there with the Cardinals. So, it's just about getting the job done, Joe. They've got to go out. They've got to get it done. There are going to be some big teams trading here at the deadline. And I think it's important for us to go into that. But I forgot we got to go through our MVP and Cy Young real quick. I think it's pretty obvious. Ellie's the MVP right now. Cy Young goes to Abbott. I don't think it really goes to anybody else, but I at least wanted to have that conversation in case if there was anybody else maybe on your mind. But I don't think there's anybody else.
How about we give it to Ellie and Abbott, and then we pick one other player for each thing, just
That's
to
fine.
point out, because that'd be more fun. Yeah, Ellie obviously superstar. Everything is doing 284 average. Abbott making the All-Star game. There are 2 All-Stars, and they both deserve it. They are the 2 best for the first half. I mean, minus injuries, we don't know what Hunter Green would have done all that. But
Yeah.
other than him, I'd say I'm kind of torn between MVP. I would say Friedel because he's been so consistent up until the last 2 weeks before the All-Star break here. He's been kind of a little shitty, to be honest. But I will point out Spencer. Austin Hayes limited time's great. Spencer Steer, I think, might be the guy who I'm like, hey, dude, thank you for turning it around. That April and March was so bad, but since then he batted 270 in May. He batted 302 in June and 257 in July. That really has helped us turn from like having a bad season to a good season. So I would say Friedel, Spencer Steer deserves a shout out, and then Cy Young. It's hard to kind of narrow it down just because I think we have had good pitching. Like Nick Lodolo, 3.38 ERA. If you're not going to take Abbott, obviously Hunter Green's been injured. You could probably still take him at 11 starts. I'm just gonna give a quick shout out for Tony Santillan. Because they keep on using him, and that guy keeps on showing a 3.07 ERA through half the season. He's pitched 47 games, 44 innings so far this year, so he's pitched in almost half the games. Like I said, I wouldn't hate it if you went Lodolo, if you went Hunter Green, and even with the injuries outside of Abbott, but I really appreciate what he has done. Called upon a lot, and he just gets the job done.
I love it. I absolutely love it. TJ Friedel was going to be mine as well. I think I'll give it to Steer, though, because when we've needed him most, he has shown up time and time again. He has found his power in a big way. I think he is primed for a really big second half. I mean, he only had how many home? I'm going to check his splits real quick. Maybe you still have them up, but I don't.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, how many home runs did he have in the first half of the season? I mean, okay, I got it right here. So he had 4 home runs through May. He has hit 7 in the last month and a half. He is well on his way to having another 20-plus home run season. You need guys who are just solid on your team. This dude is just solid. He's better than he was last year. And, I mean, he has the opportunity, Joe, despite the horrendous start to actually have his best season of his career the way that he is playing right now. He's getting less opportunities for RBIs because Ellie is just gobbling them up at an absurd rate right now. Austin Hayes as well, considering how many at-bats he has. If he had the same number of at-bats as Ellie De La Cruz, Austin Hayes at this point would have 20 home runs and like 80 RBIs. And this team would probably be in first place by a pretty significant amount, if we're being completely honest. So, I'm going to give it to Steer. Not to take away from Friedel. I am one of the biggest Friedel stands out there. I love him. I think he is an absolute stud. And I think, he had a rough 2 weeks, whatever. He was basically the only bat we had for almost 2 months. So I'm not going to really take anything away from him there. Pitching-wise, I have two people in mind. Santillan I was thinking about, but I think there are two others that I want to give this to, and I'm going to split the award. I'm going to start with the obvious one. I'm going to give it to Emilio Pagan, half of it. Dude, he's been nails. I would have never thought that I'd be sitting here going, this guy's 20 for 23 in saves, one of the best in baseball. He's got a 2.93 ERA. He is striking out well over a batter an inning right now, which has been great. His whip is what's impressive, Joe. A .88 whip is actually the best on the team for anybody who has more than 2 innings pitched. His batting average against is also the best on the team, just in general. He has been nails, dude. I want to give him a little bit of love. The other one who I don't think we would be here without is Brent Suter. 3.15 ERA. The guy has started games. He has come in and gotten a ton of innings when you have needed him. I believe, looking at this right now, Brent Suter, Joe, I don't know if you knew this, but outside of the 5 main starters, and this includes Hunter Green, he has the most innings pitched on this Reds team. He comes in, he just gets the job done. Soft contact. Sure, he'll give up a home run here and there. But I 1.05 whip and a .221 batting average against. I just don't know what else you could ask from this guy. He's obviously a leader in the clubhouse as well. He is a beloved, fan favorite. I just want to give him his flowers, man, because he has been so much better than I thought he was going to be. And I think it's just because he's here at home. But I don't know, dude. I'm actually looking at his stuff right now. This guy has never had above a 4.4 ERA in his entire career. It's actually kind of impressive to look at his stats. He's kind of a stud when you think about it. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's 2 good picks as well. I will say, I think we've found guys in the bullpen we can rely on. We still need to get more bullpen arms and cut out the bottom of it. But our bullpen ERAs come down. We're under 4 now, or 3.96. I think that's
they had a great
17th
week.
in the league, 17th in the league or something like that, which is good. We keep on bringing that down. That's where you get into contender. If you get down to a 3.7 through a high 3.6, that's where the contenders, bottom end of the contenders are. So it'd be nice to get that up. But those 3 guys that we mentioned, Santillan, Pagan, Suter, have all been good. Barlow's bringing his ERA down. I think, Tito did inflate it with leaving him in sometimes, and, he obviously apologized for that and everything. Rogers, who we both have our problems with, 2.76 ERA. There are guys. Lyon Richardson, I think, while his ERA is a little bit up from where it was, he's been good for us, 3.73. It's really after those guys you have to figure out what you're going to do. Ian Jabot, we talked about, when he comes back, I don't think he has it anymore, to be honest, but what are we going to do with him? Luis May keeps on coming up and going down. Carson Spires, is he going to come up and start for us, be in the bullpen? Sam Ball, is he back? What's going on with him? There's a lot to figure out at the bottom, and if we get some bullpen arms like Aroldis Chapman or whoever else has been thrown, a lot of the Twins relievers are on the block right now. If we get some of those guys, that makes it so that these guys, along with them, the new guys, it makes it where it's probably a really good bullpen as opposed to, like I said earlier, average at best. Right now they're average, and I think they're pitching pretty well. If they get some other guys, that could be maybe top 10-ish.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that's a great segue. I will say Luis May apparently has been on absolutely scorching fire down in AAA. I would not be surprised to see him get called back up again here very soon. I feel like Richardson's unfortunately going to be the odd man out once again, just because he has had a couple bad games, but for the most part, the dude's been nails, so I'm not going to be too upset about that. We are into the second half, Joe, and then we get a few minutes to talk about the Mets. Let's give some second half predictions. You start for here. Where are you thinking this Reds team is going to go over these last, I forget how many more games we have, but over these last games? I'll do the math real quick in a second.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm gonna assume right now we're not gonna make. With my prediction, I'm assuming we're not making any moves. I would say that we finish right around 500 for the whole year. The second half schedule is tougher. I do think that we're using our bullpen almost to the limits. We're not going overboard, but I think if we kind of go on with the season, that's kind of how it goes. We don't know when Hunter Green's coming back. I think that's a fair assessment of like, hey, we go 81 and 81 on the season. Second half a little bit worse than the first half in terms of before and after the All-Star break, but that's just because they count for the schedule. And if they do go get some of these guys, Rob, I'm not going to say that you can't win 90 games. I really do think that's a possibility. But accounting for the tougher schedule, accounting for the injuries, I'll say 81 and 81. And Reds front office, go prove me wrong. Go get some help, and my prediction gets adjusted based on that.
I think that's fair. I did the calculations. Right now, the Reds would win 83 games based on the pace that they have been on. So that would put them, I think, 6 games above 500. Joe, 5?
83 and 79, right?
So 4 games. Okay.
Yeah.
So they'd only pick up one more game. Because there are 65 games left, which is, fair. By the time the Mets series is over, we will have 100 games there. Quick maths here, Joe. I think that's fair. I think they can be better. I think if Hunter Green comes back and is healthy, because what you have to account for is other teams are going to fall off. They will have times where they will struggle. This is baseball. You rarely have a team that is just completely unbeatable all season long. Let's be real here, Joe. There are 4 teams in baseball right now that are playing at about a 60% win clip. That's really, really hard to do for a full season. Even last year, let me go back here real quick. At the end of the season, the best teams in baseball, there was only one that finished at that, and it was the Dodgers. Pretty much nobody else was around that. The Reds, unfortunately, they would be 6 games out of the wild card if they finished with those 83 wins. I really think that they have to make a move at this point. I think the rest of the league will fall off a little bit. I can see the Reds winning 85 games, to be honest with you. I think that seems pretty possible right now. I think if Hayes can stay healthy, I think if Hunter Green comes back, I think as Chase Burns continues to kind of learn what he's doing with Martinez, maybe move to the bullpen, right? I don't know that they're getting much help at the, batting right now, but I do think people Gavin Lux hasn't hit in a month and a half, right? We talked about it already. TJ Friedel hasn't really hit. I think that they'll start to hit more. I think McClain will start to hit more. And I think this team can absolutely finish, what that would be. That'd be 6 games over 500. But I think for them to win, they've got to win 90 games, in my mind, to be able to actually really make this thing happen. And I think they have to go out and make some trades. So my prediction right now is going to be 85 wins. But I think that they can do better than that. So let's talk about some trade deadline stuff. Joe, I've not heard, but I've seen some people throwing out the Stephen Kwan thing. I don't know why the Guardians would be willing to give him up based on what's going on right now, but I wouldn't hate that whatsoever. If we're looking at the teams that I think are really and truly out of it, you've got the Orioles who are out. It's trending more and more likely that the Twins, Royals, Guardians, and White Sox are all going to be out of it. So pretty much all the NL or AL Central. It's really, Detroit's up almost 12 games right now on the Twins, and the Twins aren't even above 500. We're looking at the Rangers are going to be out of it. I saw somebody say something about Adolis Garcia on Reds Reddit, I believe is where it was. But the Angels are probably out of it. The Athletics are definitely out of it. Marlins are clawing their way back, but I doubt it. Braves are probably out. Nationals are out. Pittsburgh's out. Colorado is out, and it sounds like the Diamondbacks are ready to sell. So that's about half the league right now. The Reds are in it, right? They really and truly are. They are currently, I think, the ninth best team, eighth best team, something like that. Ninth best team in the National League. What's really sad, Joe, is they would basically be in the playoffs in the AL. They would be one game out. So about the same position they're in. But you get my point. The AL has been a lot worse because the drop-off right after the Rays is pretty rough. We are the last bastion, I would say, in the National League right now. Who's somebody you would like to see the Reds go after?
Steven Kwan. I mentioned him as one of my favorite players not on the Reds. Think he'd be perfect in that 2-hole for us. Wouldn't be the fastest 1-2 punch at the start of a lineup that we've seen, but also you have Ellie behind him who has all the speed in the world. I do think that our power bats are coming through. Hey, Austin Hayes is getting healthy. Spencer Steer is hitting the ball harder. I would love to get a power bat. I think that does help this lineup considerably because Ellie leads the team with 18 home runs, and that's not bad, don't get me wrong.
No.
But this ballpark, you could have people easily who are above average power hit 35, 40 home runs. It's not that hard in this ballpark. So I just really like Steven Kwan because he puts the ball in play. I think he's a good pure hitter. Him and Friedel at the top with Ellie behind him, I think we're really good. Do I think they're going to trade him? No. Do I understand why people are saying that? Yes, because they're like the fourth worst team in the American League right now. This is maybe a pipe dream to get him. I do think that someone like trading for some of like the Orioles guys are more realistic. Maybe the Athletics, depending on what they want to do with like guys like Brett Rooker, and even the Braves. I don't know. Do we Marcelo Ozuna? Yeah, he has off the field issues, but Major League Baseball seems to not care, and it seems like there is some. I'm not saying that's for every case, but there is some gray area with his case of domestic violence and everything. So, do they do that? He also has a hurt hip that he's playing through. Do you trade for him? Does he pass the physical? That is a guy who would come cheaply, I think, in comparison to what he produces. Those are the guys that I've kind of seen in terms of bats, and then those Twins relievers. That's what they think the Twins are going to start giving up now. Might be the ones to go after, and they do have some decent ones to go after. We saw them a couple weeks ago. My only thought is that if you do decide to go in, go all the way in, because right now, Rob, you listed all the teams that are trying to sell. That's all the teams below us. There's we're right on the bottom cusp of the contenders.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go get one bat, does that do it? Maybe not. If you get a bat and a bullpen arm, does that help you? Yes. You're getting closer. Do you get maybe two bats and two bullpen arms, or one bat and two bullpen arms? That's where you really start getting to possibly contending and getting that push. So yes, the guys I'm looking at: Steven Kwan, Marcell Ozuna, if off the field stuff and injuries pan out. And pretty much any of the young Orioles, any of the Orioles that want to be traded, because they definitely need young pitching help. Their organization has zero pitching right now. That would be something I think would be a good fit for both teams. They can build for the future with their pitching, and we can have a hitter that maybe we have control over for a couple years.
I'm going to name two guys. I agree with you almost, completely wholeheartedly. But I think that there's actually a team. I think there are two players. One, even though he has a full no trade clause, if the Guardians were signaling, hey, it is time to be done, we are going to fully reset here, you think Jose Ramirez wouldn't like to stay in the great state of Ohio? He's only got 3 years left on that deal. The max amount you're paying him is $25 million. They were willing to pay Nick Martinez $21. I can't see why they wouldn't be willing to pay Jose Ramirez $4 million more than that. I mean, this would be the deal of the century. If the Reds were able to get Jose Ramirez and stick him at third base, Joe, this team goes from cusp of contending to, I think, they could make a run in the playoffs with the pitching that they have and with a guy like Ramirez. You bump Ellie up to the 2 spot, or you can keep him at 3 and put Jose Ramirez there if you'd like to. He's got enough speed. He's a great third baseman. A lot of people say third bases are whole. I think it's mostly because Marte has been hurt, but look, man, I think this would be an awesome get for the Reds. I would love that one. One more, I've recently seen that the Diamondbacks are looking for pitching, young pitching specifically. There's a guy on this team, not Eugenio Suarez. He's going to be the guy that everybody wants. Okay, the Reds are not going to try to outbid the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Cubs. Those are the kinds of teams that are going to go after Suarez, and that's a bummer because I would hate to see him on the Cubs right now. I think I would probably cry a little bit if that happened. But there's another guy named Josh Naylor who continues to hit the ball. He is going to be made available. He's going to be a lot cheaper because of the fact that he is on a 1-year deal. I think the Reds, I think if you were to ask Spencer Steer, hey man, are you willing to go back to third base to let Josh Naylor go to first base? I wouldn't hate it. He doesn't really strike out, Joe. He's a great at bat. He's a solid guy to have in your lineup. He's got plenty of power. 58 RBIs this year. He's a 294 batting average. He gets on base. He gives you good at bats, something I think the Reds could really use. And he could turn some of those doubles into a home run. So I think that those are two guys that I would really, really, really like to see. I think Naylor especially is a sneaky guy who I think if they're really and truly just giving up, that'd be a guy I'd really like to see them go after.
Yeah, it'd be a good one as well. I do think there's going to be a lot of good players available, and I think the prices are going to be way down because there's so many teams with talent who are playing poorly this year, like the Orioles, and like the Braves, like the Diamondbacks, that like, or the Guardians, who want to throw them in too. Like that is like they're going to be good players at solid prices, and I do think we can make multiple trades and get them. I mentioned the Twins. We've been rumored to be in on Yuan Duran and Griffin Jacks. I would really love
Really?
Duran. He's one of the best. Yeah, it was on MLB Trade Rumors.
That'd be huge.
He's been one of the best entrances in baseball when he comes into the game. He has a 10.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. He has only let 8 earned runs up this season in 44 games played, 43.1 innings pitched. That it would be amazing. That came out I think yesterday afternoon. But he's that if you get him and you get one of the bats we mentioned, that is a very solid trade deadline. If you get him and maybe another bullpen arm and a bat or two, that is amazing. So there is like apparently we're showing interest whether we beat out other teams for him. He's going to be in very, very high demand because he is so good as a closer, 1.66 ERA. Just, that'd be really that would be something that I would say, yes, the Reds front office finally did something of note and got a player who can make a huge impact, can come in and be the closer. We can move Emilio Pagan down. Hopefully, he keeps that effectiveness up. If Hunter Green comes back and Nick Martinez moves to the bullpen, he has pitched better out of the bullpen this year, even though he's been very limited time out of the bullpen. That makes your bullpen so much better and makes you kind of go for it. So, if they get Duran, if they get one of the batters we mentioned to help this lineup and help the consistency, that goes, for me, it makes it from an 81 win projection to maybe 86 to 87. It really is a 5 to 6 win difference if you have that good of a bullpen pitcher and an actual good bat you can play every day.
See, and that takes me to 90 wins, which is what I think we need. So I completely agree with that. I don't think we're too high in the sky because I think when you look at some of the teams that we have to go up against, I think if we get a bat, we're better than the Cardinals, we're better than the Giants, we're better than the Padres. It's when we start getting up to the Mets, the Brewers, the Phillies, the Cubs, and the Dodgers, that's where I start to worry a little bit. But if players start playing better and they make these moves and Hunter Green gets healthy, this is a kind of team that could go on a huge run. I mean, they could go 35 and what would that be? 35 and, well, that's 35 and 30. So no, 45 and 20 in the second half here, which would be absurd, but they could. Those are the kinds of runs that you need in baseball to kind of get over that hump. Maybe 40 wins is more realistic at that time. 40 and 25, right? But that's about a 60% clip, Joe, and that's going to get the job done, right, for this team. And so, if they do that kind of stuff, then we're talking, hey, the Reds are in a really good position at that point. And we see runs like that all of the time. And I think that they are a team that with a healthy team and a couple moves, they can make that happen. So I'm hopeful there on that one. Let's unless you got anything else, let's head to the Mets.
Just one last thing. A lot of these times we see the big markets at the trade deadline make these moves, but really the teams that you're trading with, they just want good, solid returns. So if we're willing to do the deals, we can get something done. Yes, the Dodgers have a better farm system than us right now. We rank 11th, which is not bad for given everything we've brought up in the last several years. So if the chance that we can go make moves, go do it. We have, 5 top 100 prospects and not enough spots for our current starting pitchers, the way things are currently constructed, especially when and if Brett Lauder and Hunter Green ever come back and all that. So be aggressive, see what you can do, and this is the best chance to get players because we're not going to outbid people in the offseason. So if we have to
No.
give up prospects, then go do it. It's great.
Yeah, especially if you can get somebody with some years on him. I think Jose Ramirez should be a top trade target for them. I think them and Quan. If Cleveland, signifies, hey, we're open for business, we know we're not going to compete over the next 2 or 3 years, then I'd be jumping all over that, like big time.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's 6 top 100 prospects now because Alfredo Duno's in there too. And
They have
Scott,
one of the
from
most,
earlier,
actually. I think it's up to they were tied. I was looking at this just a couple weeks ago, Joe. They are tied for second. I can't remember how many they have, but they are tied for second in the most prospects in the top 100. I believe the number one was 8. I can't remember who it was, but I know that we had at least 6.
Yeah, we have 6. I just scrolled through it. I can't remember all the names. Like Cam Collier, Chase Burns, Rhett Lauder, all those guys are all in there. And then earlier in the show, Mike Sirota was the guy that we gave up for Gavin Lux. He's the 100th prospect, and it's like, okay, I'm just saying this to other Reds fans out here. Like, it's okay that we gave up a top 100 prospect for Gavin Lux when he's still so young and his expected ETA is 2027. All right, so you need to take a chill pill sometimes. When we trade prospects, it might always look bad when you have like a guy who's hitting well in the minor leagues. We just don't know how that's going to turn out. So, something to point out there too. But
I'm sorry.
no, as we go through this trade deadline, we might be giving up some of these guys who end up being in the top 100 prospects or end up being in the major leagues. Like, I'd rather be proactive and make a mistake than what we currently do, which is sit back and let's hoard our prospects and let them walk off in free agency every 5 to 6 to 7 years.
Yeah, it's about starting a new cycle. That's what it is, right? The Reds have a bunch of young guys. You don't have spots for all of them. You just don't. Edwin Arroyo is still a coveted guy. He's only just been injured. That's the only reason he's not a top 100 prospect right now, is he is still recovering from that injury. Like, that should be your number one guy, and like Chase Petty. You can trade both of those guys in a package and get a good player. I guarantee it. You could probably trade one of those guys. You could probably trade Chase Petty and, I don't know, a AAA guy and maybe even a low rookie ball guy for Josh Naylor. And none of us are going to be sitting here going, oh my God, they gave up Chase Petty? Like, sorry, we have 5 really good young starting pitchers, and you have other people who are available. You will have Carson Spires and Brandon Williamsons and those kinds of guys once they are healthy again to be available to you if you need to down in AAA. Like, you can recycle and get new players as well. Like, if Spencer Steer in a couple of years, the Reds aren't competing, you're going to tell me that people won't pay? I mean, Josh Naylor, the guy who I just said, and you might be like, hey, I like that package. Spencer Steer is basically the same player right now, except with a slightly worse batting average, but a better defender than Josh Naylor, and people would give up a similar package like that for Steer in the future. I'm just saying, like, we are so young right now. This is the prime opportunity to trade some guys who are not going to get playing time in the next 2 or 3 years. Just do it, and you have drafts. They just drafted 2 guys who I think are young, who will be those guys who will be in that top 100 here. Like, Steelhall may be in the top 100 when they do their, projection lists here in a couple weeks, especially as some guys start to graduate out of the system. So just go get it done, man. I mean, there are absolutely guys that you can go out there and trade a couple of these prospects, and yes, you're going to be like, oh no, they're not going to have some of these, younger guys to come up. You don't need them. You just frankly don't need them right now. We already are having a problem where we're sending Christian Encarnacion Strand down. He should be one of the first guys. If somebody's willing to overpay and consider him still a super top prospect, get his ass out of here. We don't need him right now. I'd rather have Marte at third base, and I would rather have Spencer Steer at first. So just go get the job done, man. Like, it has never been more clear for me. Like, and if they're going to be like, well, we're going to wait, dude, a smart GM is on the phone right now with some of these teams and trying to get a deal done over the All-Star break. Can you imagine coming back on Friday, Joe, with Naylor or Ramirez or any of those relievers that you talked about? You think that's not going to pump this team up and be like, okay, they're letting us go for it? Will Benson specifically was like, we know what is going on right now. We know that we have to win to tell the front office to go for it. That's almost his exact words that he said after that game on Saturday. They know it. show them that they are doing what they need to and that you're going to help them. Like, that's just what the Reds front office needs to do. It's so frustrating because they're so close. There are guys that they can go get for sure that will make this team better. And please just go get it done, man. It would be so fun. I don't care if they don't win the World Series. Okay, I would love for them to, but I understand that's probably not likely. I don't give a shit. Just go out and get this done and at least be like, hey, you know what? They tried. They tried and they went out and they got somebody. Sorry, rant's done.
Absolutely. That's all we've wanted to see. I mean, our biggest trade on that deadline day acquisition is either Sam Ball or Marlon Byrd over our lifetimes, probably. So usually we're sellers, and guys like Aaron Boone walk out the door in famous trades. But it is like we want to go see this team actively try to get better and try to win. If something comes up where they say Hunter Green is out for the season and we think the injury and the depth might be off, maybe that changes where you go get guys who are more under control rather than rentals. Maybe that changes, but we still want to see you try, whether it's now or when Hunter Green's able to get back. Like we said earlier, they're 16th in bullpen ERA this year. The starters have been fantastic. If you get one or two more bullpen arms, that moves up to a top 10 bullpen. If you get one or two more bats, that lineup really improves, and it becomes something that's more consistent. Now, it is tough that some other teams like I said earlier, the Dodgers have a good farm system. The Cubs have a good farm system right now. They're going to have to compete. They're going to have to give up a lot of prospects. But at the end of the day, the people who really overvalue prospects, I do this because I'm an NFL draft guy, an NBA draft guy.
Same.
I do it too myself. But if I trade Edwin Arroyo tomorrow and I give the guy who can help me right now in this lineup, and I give up Edwin Arroyo and one other prospect, top 100 or borderline top 100 like Edwin Arroyo, I'm okay with that. I really am, because we have had prospects before, and that all it's going to do is keep on cycling, as you said, Rob. So that's just something to keep in mind. We may have to do something which is kind of like an overpay with some of these guys. Especially we're going to have bidding wars with some of these other big market teams that do have good farm systems, so they have cash to throw out there too.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, let's go get something done. Let's go make this happen. Assuming we have everyone healthy, if Hunter Green were saying, hey, we're pretty confident he's going to come back by the end of July, let's go make a run at this thing.
Yeah, look, one credit I will give them, then we'll move on. The front office has done a better job of making the team better. They have, especially recently. It's not the big moves that we would like, but it's finding the Trevino's, right, who has been absolutely outstanding for this team. It's finding the Luxes, right? They have rebuilt this team. We knew that not every prospect would hit. I think a lot of them have, more than most people would. I think, you still have the Martes, who I think he's got a really fun role potentially in this team. If he can really figure it out, right? You got Benson for nothing, and he has been very impactful over the last few years. Trust your scouts, but at the same time, trust the production on the field and with the players that you know. So, yeah, that's all I have to say with that one. We can move on here. We're going to the Mets, Joe. We are on to the Mets, to New York. The Reds will have their time off here over the next 5-6 days, 5-ish days, and then they will probably be in, or 4 days, I guess. They'll be in New York probably on Thursday, I would assume, Friday morning at the latest. And we don't know who's going to start yet. We're just going to give our predictions for who we think will start. It's going to really depend on if Abbott pitches on Tuesday or not. But right now, we've got Nick Lodolo versus Kodai Senga. Then Andrew Abbott versus Clay Holmes, and Brady Singer versus David Peterson. And you may say, hey, I don't know those guys really all that well. Maybe you haven't been watching that much of the Mets games. I totally understand that, but they're good. This is a pretty solid team. This is one of the teams that we are, if we can go in and win 2 of 3 in this one, that's a really big step forward for this team in a pretty big way. Joe, they can hit, they can pitch. They obviously made the big deal with Juan Soto this past year, but they also were able to bring back Pete Alonso, who's still been hitting very well. You have Francisco Lindor, who's been very good. Brandon Nimmo is coming into his own in a pretty big way. You still have Starling Marte. You still have Mark Vientos, a young guy, but he's still doing it. Jesse Winker has been hurt through most of this year. And I think that this team is just, I don't know, Joe, they're good. I don't know what else to say. They're a solid team, without a doubt. And they've got it up and down the line. I mean, Edwin Diaz is back, Alexi's brother. He is pitching very, very well this year. One of the few closers who have been better every single way than Emilio Pagan so far this season. So This is not a team to overlook by any stretch, but they are a beatable team. Is where I will leave it for you.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with this team. I know I mentioned a couple weeks ago if we had done preseason World Series predictions, and I know we did it like 2 months into the season, but I would have picked the Mets against the Yankees, probably the Yankees winning, especially because Max Fried is ridiculous, even though he wasn't good the other day for the Yankees. But this Mets team, very top heavy in the lineup. And I think that's something we can take advantage of. Yes, they have Francisco Lindor. They have Pete Alonso. Brandon Nimmo's playing okay. Juan Soto, 3.9 WAR. And while his batting average is a 262, he's still a freaking threat with 23 home runs. After that, it does dip. Like Jeff McNeil, 253. He's fine. Like Starling Marte has 270 batting average. He hasn't played enough to qualify. But it does dip off. So for me, this is another series. Can you get through the top half of the order and make the guys at the bottom half of the order beat you? That's something I'm looking for here. Now, I do like their pitching so far this year. The Mets don't have anyone who has pitched over 37 innings have an ERA over 4. They have 3.99 is the highest ERA they have over 37 innings. So they know who their good pitchers are, and they pitch them. I really respect that about them. They are dealing with some injuries, specifically to the starting pitching right now. Tyler McGill, Griffin Koenig, Paul Blackburn. Some relievers are hurt as well. But the lineup has been pretty much healthy. As you said, Jesse Winker's had some issues. But they've been pretty much healthy in the field otherwise. I'm going to go Reds 2-1 here, Rob. And I think the reason is the Mets don't necessarily hit left-handed pitching all that well. They're batting .233 against left-handed pitching. We expect them to have to go up against two lefties. That could change. It could, maybe they don't. But I would imagine Lodolo and Abbott are going to be in that first series. This is one you kind of have to have. I think the mental reset of the All-Star break will help. I know the Mets are prone to being a good team, but they're also prone to having meltdowns where they lose a lot of games in a row. Maybe we can catch them on their cold off of the break. I'll say 2-1. It's very easy to go 1-2 or 0-3, but I'm going to trust our starting pitchers, our lefty starting pitchers, which both of them have been great. Even Lodolo with the 3.38 ERA, I believe, and Abbott obviously being an all-star. That has been great. I don't know, like Singer, Martinez, Burns, whoever they start in the third game. I don't know what's going to happen with that one, but I'll say 2-1. I think they are a beatable team as much talent as they do have.
Yeah, I mean, they came in very hot and cold. They won 2 of 3 against the Brewers, 2 of 3 against the Yankees, but then they lost, and they went 3-3 against the Orioles and the Royals, two teams that, in a similar fashion that we felt with the Marlins and the Rockies, they probably should have gone, 5-1, 4-2 against, right? So they are definitely a beatable team. Like you said, not only that, Joe, but don't forget, we have 3 lefties in the bullpen as well. I think controlling Juan Soto is going to be a big portion of this. You're just going to have to make sure, if you're going to struggle against Pete Alonso, that you give up the home run with no guys on base, right? Like that's really what it's going to come down to. Lindor can still hit, obviously, as well. But I believe Nimmo's also a lefty. So they've got a good bit of lefties in their starting lineup. Tyrone Taylor has not been as great righty as I think that they were hoping he would be. I'm going to go 2-1 as well. I'm going to trust our guys. Like you said, I think they're going to be able to get it done. I think they will start, Abbott and Lodolo. I worry about that Singer start if it ends up being him. If it's Burns, I feel like maybe 2-1 feels a little bit better. Or if it's Green, like if he's just like, hey, you know what, screw it. Like, I'm fine. Let's just get me back out there. Like, I'll just get over this hump mentally and be okay. If they do that, I think the Reds 2-1 is very, very possible if you've got our top 3 guys going up there. But right now, I'm okay with Lodolo and Abbott. We'll call it a 2-1. And that would be huge for the Reds. That puts them 4 games over 500. And, again, the biggest thing, Reds fans, that we need to have here is that the Reds are able to just get through the next week and a half well above 500. Like 4 to 5 games above 500. At least 3. They need to be within probably 5 games, I would say, of the wild card at a minimum for the Reds to actually go after it. But we've got, let me see here, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 games. 12 games that will decide the fate of the Reds season with this trade deadline, and they're going to need to get it done. So, yeah, I that's my last little bit on this, Joe. What do you got for us, your wise words before we head out of here? What fun facts do you have?
All right, you mentioned a couple of these already. Tito got his 2000th win. He is the 13th manager in Major League Baseball history to do that feat.
Crazy.
There's only one active manager ahead of him, and is Bruce Bochy with 2,219 wins. We're hoping that if Terry stays around for 3, 4, 5 years, we can get up in that top five. With 2,300. 226 wins is what Joe Torre has in that fifth spot. Maybe get another World Series ring. We'll hope. We're gonna hope here. We're gonna dream. That'd be nice too. But congrats to him, future Hall of Famer himself. Dusty Baker's also on that list as a former Reds manager. We have Sal Stewart promoted to AAA. You mentioned that, having a very fantastic year. Really, his stock has soared more than any other prospect we've had. Alfredo Duno as well. Both those guys were in the futures game this weekend. Both went 0 for 1. Not the best showing for them, but just the fact that they're there and this kind of event is really good. Only one at bat for each. They really try to get those prospects in and out, so they played about 2 innings each and had 1 0 for 1. But excited to see what both those guys can do. Sal Stewart's getting a lot of the media hype, I think, right now, but Alfredo Duno, from the players that were at spring training with him, they really think he's going to be good. So just watch out for those two guys.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I think Duno is the guy who, if Stevenson kind of heads out, I think he's the next one in there. Maybe a bridge guy with Trevino, which is why they got that 3-year deal done with him. So we'll keep that in mind as well. But that is going to wrap it up for us on this Reds rundown. A little bit of a longer one, but a lot of things that we needed to kind of, I think, dissect and go over. So I hope you guys enjoyed it as always. But from our house to yours, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.